Welcome to the Book Club podcast. You're listening to the audiobook edition of Becoming Her: How to Stand Out in a World Full of Beautiful Women
by Kamiko Chamo.
If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future chapters or upcoming book releases. This book is also available on Amazon in both paperback and Kindle formats if you'd like your own copy to read along or take notes. Now, let's begin today's chapter. Chapter 15. The Emotional Intelligence of Irresistible Women. Emotional Regulation and Self-Awareness. A woman's emotional world is her most powerful language. It's how she connects, nurtures, and intuitively senses what others can't say. But when those emotions go unmastered, they can also become her greatest vulnerability. Emotional regulation and self-awareness are the keys to transforming sensitivity into strength, chaos into composure, and reaction into radiance. Every irresistible woman has one thing in common: she is aware of herself. She knows what she feels, why she feels it, and how to express it without self-betrayal. This doesn't mean she doesn't cry, get angry, or feel deeply. It means she doesn't let her feelings become her identity. Her emotions are visitors. They come, they teach, and they leave. Emotional intelligence begins with awareness, the ability to witness your feelings without judgment. When you can pause long enough to ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to show me? You shift from reaction to reflection. Anger might be pointing to a boundary you've neglected. Sadness might be revealing an expectation that wasn't realistic. Anxiety might be a signal that you've been overextending yourself for too long. Awareness doesn't erase emotion, it translates it. Regulation, on the other hand, is the ability to guide those emotions with grace. It's how you stay calm in chaos, grounded in love, and steady when others lose their balance. It's choosing your response instead of surrendering to impulse. A high-value woman understands that the more control she gains over her emotions, the more power she gains over her life. Masculine energy responds profoundly to this kind of emotional discipline. When a woman is centered, she becomes the calm in the storm, a source of peace, not pressure. Men feel this instantly. Her serenity draws them closer because it feels safe. She doesn't overreact, overexplain, or overanalyze. Her presence itself communicates trust. Practically, emotional regulation looks like this. Instead of arguing, she pauses. Instead of posting out of pain, she journals. Instead of clinging, she breathes. She recognizes that reacting gives away power, while reflection multiplies it. Her control is not coldness, it's clarity. This level of emotional mastery also makes her magnetic to high-quality relationships. People gravitate toward those whose energy feels balanced. When your emotions are unpredictable, others tiptoe around your moods. But when you're emotionally grounded, your energy becomes soothing, like a candle instead of a fire. That consistency is what builds long-term trust. Spiritually, emotional intelligence is a sacred practice of self-awareness. It's realizing that emotions are not random. They are divine messages from your inner world. Each one offers an opportunity to heal something deeper. The woman who listens to her emotions instead of fighting them becomes wise beyond her years. A woman with emotional intelligence also knows the importance of solitude. She gives herself space to feel before she speaks, to process before she reacts. She no longer expects others to fix her emotions, she self-soothes. This autonomy is irresistible. A woman who can hold herself through pain doesn't demand, she inspires. Ultimately, emotional regulation and self-awareness transform a woman from reactive to radiant. She stops being moved by chaos because she has become her own still point. Her peace no longer depends on the world behaving, it depends on her alignment. When you master your emotions, you master your energy. And when you master your energy, you become unforgettable. Because in a world full of emotional turbulence, the woman who remains calm, not cold, not indifferent, but centered, becomes the light everyone feels drawn to. Her strength is soft, her power is quiet, and her awareness is infinite. That love is what makes her truly irresistible. Listening with intuition. Listening is an art, but listening with intuition is a superpower. Most people listen to respond. Few listen to understand. And fewer still listen to what's not being said. Intuitive listening is the quiet feminine gift of hearing between the lines, reading tone, sensing energy, and recognizing truth even when it hides behind carefully chosen words. It's how a woman connects beyond logic, forming bonds that feel deeper, richer, and more human. The irresistible woman listens not with her ears alone, but with her whole being. When someone speaks, she doesn't rush to fill silence. She doesn't interrupt with advice or overanalyze every detail. She leans in, maintains presence, and lets the person's energy tell the story. Her intuition reads what the mind misses: the tension in the shoulders, the hesitation in the voice, the emotions behind the pauses. That level of listening makes others feel profoundly seen. Masculine energy, especially, is drawn to this quality. Men often communicate indirectly about their emotions, not because they don't feel, but because they haven't been taught how to articulate. A woman who listens intuitively bridges that gap. She senses his moods before he speaks, responds to his energy before he asks, and creates an environment where vulnerability feels natural, not pressured. This doesn't mean she carries his emotional load. It means she recognizes and honors his unspoken truth. Intuitive listening also transforms how you interpret conflict. Instead of reacting to words, you perceive intention. You learn to hear why someone said something, not just what they said. That distinction is emotional mastery. It keeps you grounded when others become defensive or distant. You no longer take things personally because you can see beyond the surface. You can see fear where others see anger, pain where others see pride. Spiritually, intuition is divine feminine intelligence, the silent voice of knowing that comes before thought. It's the inner compass that guides you toward alignment and away from dissonance. When you cultivate silence and stillness in your daily life, through meditation, prayer, or solitude, your intuition becomes sharper. You begin to trust what your spirit feels over what your mind doubts. Listening with intuition is also a practice of humility. It requires you to release the ego's need to fix, prove, or dominate conversation. Instead, you surrender to presence. You let silence do the heavy lifting. When you listen this way, you connect not just to people but to the pulse of life itself, the subtle rhythm of emotion that underlies every interaction. The high-value woman doesn't just hear, she feels. She listens to tone before words, energy before logic. Her presence alone disarms people, because being truly heard in a world obsessed with speaking is a rare form of love. And the beauty of it all? She doesn't need to announce that she's intuitive. People simply feel understood around her. To listen with intuition is to lead with empathy, awareness, and grace. It is to honor the sacred exchange between souls, the moment when one heart says, "I see you," and the other finally exhales. That love is listening elevated to art, and it's one of the quietest, most magnetic powers a woman can ever possess. Responding, not reacting. There's a fine but powerful difference between responding and reacting. One stems from wisdom, the other from impulse. One builds connection, the other burns bridges. The art of responding, not reacting, is the hallmark of emotional maturity and one of the most magnetic qualities of a high-value woman. It's how she keeps her peace, her power, and her presence intact, even when faced with provocation or emotional chaos. A reaction is instant. It's born from emotion, fear, anger, insecurity, pride. It's what happens when your ego takes the wheel before your soul has a chance to speak. You hear something, you feel something, and before reflection can intervene, you act. A response, on the other hand, is deliberate. It's the result of a pause, a breath between emotion and expression. It's not silence born from weakness, but restraint born from strength. The difference between the two can alter the entire direction of a conversation, a relationship, or even your destiny. Reactivity gives control away, responsiveness reclaims it. When you react, you let external energy dictate your mood. When you respond, you guide that energy with grace. The woman who knows how to pause before she speaks, to breathe before she acts, becomes emotionally untouchable. In relationships, this skill changes everything. Men and people in general feel safest around emotional consistency. When you respond rather than react, your energy becomes trustworthy. You no longer swing between passion and panic, warmth and withdrawal. You communicate with intention, not impulse. Even when you're hurt, your tone stays composed, your posture remains calm, and your words are thoughtful. That doesn't make you emotionless, it makes you emotionally elegant. To cultivate responsiveness, you must first build awareness of your triggers. Notice what stirs strong reactions, being ignored, misunderstood, criticized, or disrespected. Each trigger points to an unhealed wound. When you identify it, you gain power over it. The next time you feel emotional heat rising, ask yourself, am I about to protect my peace or prove my pain? The woman who chooses peace in that moment elevates instantly. Practically, responsiveness often means doing nothing in the heat of the moment. It's the discipline of waiting, letting the emotional wave crest and pass before you decide what to say or do. You might draft a message and delete it. You might step away, journal, or take a walk. You give yourself the gift of clarity before engagement. And when you return, your words carry weight because they are chosen from self-control, not self-defense. Spiritually, responding instead of reacting is a reflection of divine femininity. The feminine essence is receptive, it absorbs, feels, and transforms. When you respond rather than react, you're embodying that power. You take an energy, alchemize it, and return it in a higher form, one that heals instead of harms. That's why the calm woman in a room full of chaos always stands out. Her energy is elevated, not entangled. When you stop reacting, you become untriggerable. People may still project, provoke, or misunderstand you, but your energy remains steady. You no longer match chaos, you neutralize it. Your peace becomes your protection, and your silence becomes your strategy. And remember, love. Every time you choose to respond instead of react, you teach the world how to treat you. You show that your emotions are sacred ground, not a playground for anyone's immaturity. You show that your voice is intentional, not impulsive. And in doing so, you claim the highest form of power there is: mastery over yourself. Empathy without self-sacrifice. Empathy is one of the most divine gifts of the feminine spirit, the ability to feel deeply, understand intuitively, and connect beyond words. It allows a woman to hold space for others, to heal through presence, and to see the humanity even in imperfection. But empathy, when unguarded, can become self-destruction. The high-value woman learns to balance compassion with boundaries. She understands that to care for others without losing herself is not coldness, it's wisdom. Empathy, without self-awareness, easily turns into emotional overextension. You start absorbing everyone's pain as if it's your own. You try to fix, soothe, and save until you realize that your energy is depleted and your spirit is heavy. True empathy does not mean taking on another's suffering. It means holding understanding without losing equilibrium. You can walk beside someone in darkness without dimming your own light. A woman with emotional intelligence feels deeply, but she doesn't drown. She knows that she cannot heal anyone who refuses their own growth. Her love becomes supportive, not sacrificial. She listens with care, but does not carry what isn't hers. This discernment transforms empathy from a burden into a blessing. Masculine energy, in particular, flourishes around this balance. A man feels safe with a woman who can empathize without losing herself, who can understand his pain without becoming consumed by it. He senses that she has emotional depth and boundaries. Her empathy becomes nourishment, not dependency. She can love him through struggle, but she will not shrink for him. Empathy without boundaries often grows from guilt, the belief that love must always give, that kindness means tolerance. But unconditional compassion does not mean unconditional access. A high-value woman recognizes that protecting her peace is the highest act of love she can offer, because no one benefits from a woman who has drained her own soul dry. To practice balanced empathy, first recognize your limits. Ask yourself, am I helping or am I depleting myself? Am I giving because I want to or because I fear losing connection? These questions help separate love from obligation. Empathy without self-sacrifice feels light. Empathy born from fear feels heavy. The difference is in the intention. Spiritually, empathy is energy exchange, and energy must flow, not flood. When you overgive, the flow becomes one-sided, and resentment begins to grow where love once lived. The high-value woman prevents this by refilling her emotional reservoir daily. She prays, meditates, rests, and nourishes herself so she can pour from abundance, not emptiness. Empathy also requires emotional discernment. Not every story deserves your investment. Some people seek healing, while others seek hosts for their chaos. Learn to listen with kindness, but protect your energy fiercely. You can care deeply without getting caught in cycles that drain your spirit. In relationships, empathy without self-sacrifice looks like this. You listen without losing yourself in his pain. You support him without fixing what's not yours to repair. You hold space, but you do not become the space. The woman who embodies this balance exudes serenity. Her presence feels safe yet sovereign, loving, but not bound. She has mastered the art of compassion without codependence. And that love is where true empathy lives, in the heart that feels deeply but beats freely, in the soul that understands others yet never abandons itself. Recognizing manipulation. Manipulation is one of the most subtle and destructive forces in human connection. It doesn't always come in the form of overt control. Sometimes it's disguised as affection, obligation, guilt, or even love. The high-value woman learns to recognize manipulation not by its words, but by its energy. She feels when something is off. She senses when kindness has a hook in it, when compliments have conditions, or when care quietly becomes control. To recognize manipulation, you must first know your emotional landscape. When you don't know what peace feels like, you might mistake tension for passion or anxiety for love. The woman who has done her inner work can feel manipulation instantly because it disrupts her calm. Her body stiffens, her intuition whispers, her energy withdraws. That is her inner guidance sounding the alarm, and she listens. Manipulators thrive in the shadows of confusion. They twist truth, blur boundaries, and make you question your perception. Their power lies in making you doubt your own clarity. But awareness breaks that illusion. Once you see the pattern, the flattery before the favor, the guilt trip after you say no, the silent treatment when you assert yourself, you cannot unsee it. Awareness dissolves control. Emotional manipulation often begins subtly. It might sound like, "If you really loved me, you'd do this," or "You're too sensitive. I was just joking." Over time, these small dismissals erode your confidence. You begin to question whether your feelings are valid. That's how manipulation works, not through force, but through distortion. The woman who trusts her intuition never ignores discomfort just because someone else downplays it. Masculine energy that is healthy does not manipulate, it protects. But immature masculine energy, rooted in insecurity, tries to control. It fears losing dominance, so it uses tactics like withdrawal, criticism, or inconsistency to maintain psychological advantage. The high-value woman doesn't fight that energy. She disarms it with clarity. She doesn't plead or defend. She detaches. Her silence is her boundary. Her distance is her declaration. Spiritually, recognizing manipulation is an act of awakening. It's seeing where fear masquerades as love, where ego disguises itself as care. Manipulation cannot survive in the presence of self-awareness because it depends on confusion to exist. Once you understand your own worth, the frequency of manipulation feels foreign. You reject it not through argument, but through energy. To strengthen this awareness, pay attention to how you feel after interactions. Do you feel drained, anxious, or guilty for saying no? Do you feel like you're walking on eggshells, constantly trying to please or prevent conflict? These are signs of energetic imbalance. Healthy relationships feel like mutual exchange, not emotional taxation. The woman who recognizes manipulation early doesn't stay to fix it, she exits. She knows that love built on control isn't love at all. It's dependency disguised as devotion. She understands that genuine connection requires freedom, not fear. And here lies her true power. She doesn't close her heart after being manipulated. She opens it more, but with discernment. She realizes that manipulation only worked when she didn't know her value. Now, she knows better. Her boundaries are clear, her intuition is sharp, and her peace is non-negotiable. Recognizing manipulation isn't about becoming suspicious. It's about becoming so self-aware that nothing false can find a home in your energy again. Because once you know your worth, love, manipulation loses its grip. It cannot survive where clarity lives. The power of calm detachment. Calm detachment is not indifference. It is emotional mastery. It's the ability to love deeply without losing yourself, to care sincerely without clinging, and to remain peaceful even when outcomes are uncertain. It is the art of holding space for both passion and perspective. For a high-value woman, this kind of detachment becomes her greatest strength, the anchor that keeps her steady while the tides of emotion rise and fall around her. Detachment doesn't mean that you stop feeling. It means you stop suffering through your feelings. It's the understanding that emotions are transient visitors. They are meant to move through you, not take residence within you. The calm woman doesn't resist her feelings, nor does she drown in them. She observes them with grace, allowing awareness to filter impulse. This self-control becomes her quiet magnetism. Others feel her serenity and are drawn to it instinctively. In relationships, calm detachment shifts dynamics completely. When you are attached to outcomes, waiting for a text, needing reassurance, trying to force closeness, your energy begins to chase. Chasing creates imbalance. It pushes away what you want because it signals fear of loss. But when you detach, when you can say, I want this, but I don't need it to be at peace, you release pressure. You give both yourself and others the gift of freedom. Masculine energy, by nature, is drawn to calmness. It finds safety and fascination in a woman who isn't reactive, who can hold her own emotions without making him responsible for them. Detachment allows him to relax into his role, to pursue without pressure. The woman who radiates calm assurance becomes magnetic because her energy feels self-sustained. She doesn't demand connection, she invites it. Calm detachment is also a spiritual act. It is rooted in trust, trust in timing, trust in alignment, trust in the self. It says, if it's meant for me, it will stay. If it's not, I am still whole. This faith removes desperation from your vibration and replaces it with quiet confidence. It aligns you with abundance because you no longer cling to scarcity. You stop grasping for what's slipping away and start attracting what resonates with your peace. Practically, detachment means creating space between stimulus and response. When someone disappoints you, you don't react instantly, you observe. You ask, is this situation disturbing my peace or revealing what needs to leave my life? You learn to discern between temporary discomfort and long-term misalignment. Instead of clinging tighter, you allow distance to reveal truth. Calm detachment also teaches you emotional responsibility. You stop expecting others to manage your feelings. You understand that closure is internal, not external. It's the decision to accept reality without resentment. You can forgive without forgetting, love without attachment, and let go without bitterness. That is the deepest form of emotional freedom. The woman who embodies calm detachment carries an unmistakable aura. Her silence is never cold, it's sacred. Her distance is not punishment, it's peace. People sense that she is not driven by need, but by choice. And because she doesn't grasp, everything she desires naturally gravitates toward her. In truth, calm detachment is the final evolution of emotional intelligence. It is the point where empathy meets boundaries, where passion meets peace, and where love no longer equals suffering. It's the quiet understanding that you can experience everything: connection, loss, joy, heartbreak, and still remain rooted in yourself. When you master calm detachment, love, you stop fighting for control because you've already found your center. You stop fearing endings because you trust beginnings. You stop overthinking outcomes because you finally know nothing that's truly meant for you can be taken, and nothing that's not will ever stay. Leading with compassion and confidence. Compassion and confidence. Two words that seem to live on opposite ends of the spectrum, yet when harmonized, they form the essence of feminine power. Compassion softens, confidence strengthens. One opens hearts, the other commands respect. Together, they create the kind of woman who is both approachable and untouchable, kind without being naive, strong without being cold. To lead with compassion means to move through the world with empathy, understanding, and gentleness, not because you are weak, but because you know your strength doesn't require dominance. The high-value woman leads not through force, but through presence. Her compassion disarms defensiveness. Her tone heals tension. Her warmth transforms resistance into connection. But her confidence ensures that compassion never becomes compliance. Confidence without compassion can feel intimidating. Compassion without confidence can become enabling. The woman who embodies both becomes magnetic. She radiates emotional safety while maintaining self-respect. People feel both comforted by her and cautious not to cross her boundaries. That duality, the ability to nurture and to command, makes her unforgettable. In love, this balance becomes transformative. When a woman loves with compassion, she gives grace to imperfection. She listens without judgment and forgives without losing her dignity. But when she loves with confidence, she holds her boundaries firmly. She doesn't beg for consistency. She expects it. She doesn't demand respect. She embodies it. Compassion makes her gentle. Confidence makes her grounded. Together, they make her whole. Masculine energy thrives under this balance. A confident yet compassionate woman invites a man to be both strong and vulnerable, to lead and to lean. She doesn't emasculate him with arrogance, nor does she enable him with passivity. Instead, her energy says, "You can be fully yourself around me, but I will also be fully myself." That mutual freedom creates emotional safety, the foundation of lasting attraction. Spiritually, compassion connects you to the divine, to something greater than the self. Confidence connects you to your purpose, the mission of your soul. One flows from love, the other from truth. When you lead with both, your energy becomes unshakable. You can stand in your truth without needing to raise your voice. You can hold power without ever losing grace. In daily life, this combination might look like this. You speak kindly, even when firm. You correct with care, not cruelty. You forgive, but you don't forget your worth. You help, but only when it doesn't cost your peace. Leading with compassion and confidence means you bring softness to strength and wisdom to warmth. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself, because your presence itself speaks volumes. You move with the quiet certainty of a woman who knows who she is, not above others, but beyond comparison. And that love is the ultimate form of leadership, not commanding people through fear, but inspiring them through love, not proving your value through power, but expressing it through peace. Because when a woman leads with both compassion and confidence, she doesn't just influence the room, she elevates it. Thank you for listening to this chapter of Becoming Her. If you haven't subscribed to the Book Club podcast yet, go ahead and do that so you can stay updated on every new release. You can also find this book on Amazon in paperback and Kindle formats if you'd like a physical or digital copy. And if you found this episode helpful, share it with someone who might benefit from it as well. See you in the next chapter.